everyone, Linda Israel here, and I am working on a Canvas Corp Brands project. The idea was there's a challenge that we are to use Matahari as the inspiration, if you will. It could be anything that we chose to make. It could be a journal, a card, wall art, whatever you wanted to make. So I'm going to make a junk journal. I've went online and found a few images and printed them. A couple of them I've already gone around with some Tim Holtz Distress Ink and vintage photo, and I'll do that to the rest of these. And then I'm going to tear out a few pages out of these various pages of book paper, or how do I want to say this? Out of these pads of paper from Seven Gypsies. I've got Wanderlust, American Vintage, and Odeur de Jour. So that has really nice, great images in there. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I want to make some pages to go in my journal. And I've taken a page out of an old book, and then I've got one of the images from the Wanderlust. I think it's Wanderlust. Is that right? I always have to look up to see which one it was. Yeah, it was out of Odeur de Jour. That's where this one came from. My journal is going to be, the pages are 7.5 inches tall by 10 1/4, or 7 1/4 inches tall by 10 1/4 inches. And what I'm going to do is trim this paper to fit. And now I've got this little strip that I can save and use elsewhere. And then I've got this portion that I have created. So what I want to do is make a page. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to attach these two together with washi tape. Now before I do that, this piece of paper is again out of an old book, and I want to give it some color. So what I'm going to do is use my spray box and Tattered Angels Glimmer Mists. So I'll just lay this down inside. I'm just grabbing a few colors of Glimmer Mists. I've got Cork, so I'm just going to spray this a few times with Cork. This is Apricot Jelly. I believe this is one I picked up at Tuesday morning. And then I've got Moss. So make sure you want to shake these. I've got some mixing beads in there because this one, the mica powder, tends to accumulate. And so that gives it an old vintage look. So I'm going to do the same thing to the back side. And then I'll dry this with my heat tool if I'm in a hurry, or I'll lay it out to dry. I failed to mention that this paper pad that I'm working with is 8 by 8. And that was why I am splicing these together, because I need them to be 10 1/4. I've got some washi tape here, trying to decide which one I want. I've got this floral washi tape. I think I want to use that this time. So what I do is get my pages lined up flush to each other, and then I start at the edge of the two, and it's hard sometimes to get it straight. And try not to move the pages. And then what I like to do is trim off any excess that's on the bottom. And then I'll flip this over, and I'll pull a length of the tape, and then I like to place my finger on the top and hold it in place, and then pull it down until both sides have been covered. And then I'll just smooth this out with my fingers. So now I've got the beginnings of my page, and I need to set this up to be 10 1/4 inches. And what I want to do is make a pocket. So I'm measuring with the scrapbook paper on my right so that I can score this on the left-hand side. So I've made a score mark on the left-hand side. And then I'm going to take this whole piece and fold it in half. And there is the beginnings of my page that I have created. Now, I want this to be a pocket, so I'm going to fold this over again so it has a nice edge, and you can see the washi tape under it. And then I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and sew across here and here. But I think before I do that, I want to adhere this little scrap that I cut off just to give it a little interest. So I'm just going to use some Aleene's tacky glue and glue this into place. And I'll trim off the excess at the top. So it just kind of adds a little interest there. And I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and I'll do a zigzag stitch on both of these sides. I have zigzag stitched, and I'm just kind of trimming the threads. Okay, if it's a few of them are sticking out. So now we have a page here that has a pocket that we can place a journaling card in. On this particular side, I think what I want to do is I want to decorate it with one of the images. And I'm going to place it at the bottom. And what will happen is this can become another tuck spot to add a journaling card. But I'm also thinking maybe what I want to do is put some washi tape on it and then make it to where it flips down so you can write behind it. That's what I'm going to do. So I've got this washi tape here that has this neat little, I don't know, it looks like little pennant flags to me. And I just think that she would have lots of color in her life when she was here on this earth, because she was such a colorful lady that, you know, we were told she was a spy, she's an exotic dancer, she was an entertainer, she's a little bit of everything. And then I'm going to put a little washi tape on the back side as well. So now that becomes a place to write, and it can also be a place to put things in the journal. I've done the same thing with this page where I added two pieces together, and then instead of making a pocket this time, I used a piece of paper out of one of these really pretty decorative notepads. You can usually pick them up at stores. I think I got this one Tuesday morning. It was normally $6 and marked down to $3. And I just thought that would be pretty for writing. So I put one there, and then I have another one that's got peacocks that I put here. I sprayed this paper in the back the same way. So now I've got 2 pages to add to my journal. So I'm just going to continue to work here and make some more pages so that they can go inside my journal. I'll stop every once in a while and show you some key points, and then I'll show you how I do the cover as well. I've got my pages made, and I've decided that this is going to be a one signature with what I call a soft cover. It's made out of cardstock. So I've got a few things that I know I want to use on the cover. This is going to be the cover, and what I'm going to do is cut this to be 7 1/4 inches tall. And then 10 1/4 inches long. So I was using the gray and white Damask by Canvas Corp Brands. I'm going to take this piece and fold it in half. That's going to be my cover, and I know I want to use this image, and I've picked up a couple other things from Canvas Corp Brands. This is some fluted cardboard, and then here is a scrap of Love cardstock from Canvas Corp Brands. I believe this was out of a scrap pack. So I think what I want to do is add a little piece of this texture on here, right behind her. So I'm going to trim this piece of cardboard so that it's just a frame that goes around this image. I'm going to use my Distress ink around the image just to kind of finish off that edge. I'm using Vintage Photo. I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on each of these, and then I'm going to use my sewing machine to zigzag stitch around them. So I'm just using a little bit of Aleene's tacky glue. I just want enough that it kind of puts it in place and it doesn't shift. I have a little piece of lace that I want to add on here as well, so I'm just kind of getting it positioned where I think I want it. And I'm just going to take my sewing machine and zigzag stitch around this image, and that'll help adhere everything to the cover. I have a little piece of some trim that was left over from another project, so I'm going to adhere this on here. We'll use some tacky glue on the back side of this. I know that I want to tie this shut with some ribbon, and I have some seam binding here, so I'm just gauging about how much I want. It comes in ivory, or this particular one does. It's by Hug Snug. And the reason why I buy it in ivory is because I can change that color by using Glimmer Mists. So I'm going to get a couple of colors of Glimmer Mists. I've got Black Cherry and Fully Purple. I may not use both of these, but I know I want it to be somewhat pink in color. You can use a little bit of water or alcohol when you're dyeing your ribbon, and that helps it blend a little better. Then I use my heat tool to dry, and also might leave it to air dry because it does take a while. I've got a couple more pieces of the 7 Gypsies paper, and I want to put it on the inside cover. I think I want to go with this image. I was trying to decide which one I wanted. I think I'm going to go with this one. So I'm just going to trim this to be 7 1/4 inches tall, and then I'm going to trim this piece so that it's flush with the inside. I want this to have somewhat of a hidden pocket here. So what I'm going to do is take a punch. So I've got a little heart punch. And I'm just going to figure out where the center would be. So that will kind of give lend to showing that there is space here. And I'm just going to glue on the 3 sides. I have a scrap of turquoise and white damask in reverse, and so I'm going to trim this to become a journal card to fit inside. So I'm going to trim it to about, let's do 4 3/4 inch wide, and I'm going to trim off the header piece. I think I have this at a size that this can fit right inside there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew a little piece of fabric here. This is another scrap that I had in my stash. I made some of my journal cards have a little tab on it. So I'm just going to take a piece of this little fabric and I'm going to zigzag stitch it right onto the edge here. So that's been zigzag stitched and it should fit right inside here. I've got all my pages, so I'm going to stack all of these together to the center, open it up, and I've got these giant paper clips that I'm going to use to hold all these pages together while I punch holes and bind my journal. So I've made a template. This one's a little bit longer than necessary, but I have a good way of looking at it and eyeballing it, and I'm going to punch 3 holes. I have a bookbinder's cradle. You can use an old phone book that you open up and use the center of, or there's other methods of just poking the holes. I prefer this one because it seems to stack all the pages together neatly. Keeps them from being shifted when you're punching that hole. I've got some wax linen thread, and what I like to do is measure out 3 lengths of the book, whatever size I'm working on. You can probably do it with less, but I like to have the ability to wield my needle without any restrictions. So I'm going to start in the center. Don't pull the tail all the way through. Go to the outside, top or bottom, it doesn't matter. Come back down to the center. I go back out to the outside from the center. Go on the other end of the journal that you've punched the hole. And then I like to pull it through the top thread and pull. Make sure that there's not any slack on the outside or the inside. And then I tie a square knot, and then I tie a second square knot. Sometimes I like to leave the tails and then I'll put something on them. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do, but I thought I would show you so far what I have done. So the ribbon that I dyed, I'll take this and slip it through one of the stitches, and then this can be tied across the front, like so. So here is my journal. I use Canvas Corp Brands cardstock, and I use some sewing and some fluted cardboard, lace, and then another scrap of Canvas Corp Brands that says live, laugh, love, something like that on there. And then this image I printed off the internet. It was printed on a laser printer, so it has that really nice color of sheen there. So this is my inside. I hadn't put my card in yet because the paper wasn't quite dry and I didn't want it to accidentally stick. But here is the pocket that'll go, or the card that'll go in the pocket. So that'll stick out just a little bit on the front, so it'll have that a neat look. And then I've made a little pad of paper by attaching about 4 pieces together with a scrap from trimming the pages. Here's another one of the images that I printed, and I've just glued it across the bottom, so this becomes a tuck spot. But you could also add more pictures or journaling on here. This is part of the 7 Gypsies paper. This is notebook paper that I spray with Tattered Angels Glimmer Mists. It's another card. This page here is part of my mop-up page. Whenever I'm spraying with Tattered Angels, I have a piece of paper in the bottom that soaks this up, and that's what it looks like. And so I sewed this piece on here to make a pocket, and on this side I glued down a note piece so that you can write on there. And then I've got some notebook paper, and then here's another one of these little notes that's just taped on with washi tape, so there's plenty of room to write and then add journaling if you like. These were pages that I tore out of a little journal and I thought would make great journaling to write on. This is a Canvas Corp Brands tag. They come pre-cut and you can get a whole set of them. This is, I just took a piece of the cardstock or the scrapbook paper that was left over and just made a little pocket. This was Canvas Corp Brands as well, and I just sewed a little zigzag of fabric on there to make it into a tag and rounded the corners. This is an old book page that I sewed another book page on top with some fabric. Another one of the cards. Image I printed off the internet, attached with washi tape. And if you'll notice here, this is where I've washi taped the scrapbook paper to an old book page. And if you open this up, now we have more writing space on both sides, and you can see this pretty paper underneath. Another notebook page. I used some scraps and made an embellished paper clip. It's another one of the tags. The other side of that mop-up page. Here's another flip down with the image, and again this is where I've washi taped 2 pieces of paper together and made a pocket so that you can tuck things in there, the center of the book. This is a Tim Holtz journaling card, and I just used it as a tuck spot by gluing down one side. It's another journaling spot, another mop-up page behind. Here's another embellished paper clip that I made using scraps. I love how these papers look all together with the washi tape, and just doesn't have particular pattern to it. It's just all mismatched and looks really cool together. I made a what I call a library pocket. This is a piece of paper that's folded up and makes a pocket in the back and here. This is a little paper bag from Canvas Corp Brands, and I just put a scrap inside of it so that whoever gets it can choose to decorate more. And then here's another scrap that I added fabric, and I sewed over the edge here where I made a pocket. There's another space to journal, another pocket. This one flips out, so you can write on here or here, add photos. Then this is the inside back cover, and what I like to do, I don't ever show this on camera, is I have a little stamp, and I will stamp the inside with my information so that whoever ends up with the journal knows where it came from. And then there's the back. And then I use the ribbon to tie it shut. I hope you enjoyed seeing my take of Matahari and my inspiration behind making a little journal with her as the focal point of that. Make sure you check out the other images and projects that the rest of the Canvas Corp crew has put together. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a great day. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Bye.